Hi, my name is Anita Chen. I'm the program coordinator at Arthritis Consumer Experts. We're here at the Arthritis Broadcast Network booth at the Canadian Rheumatology Association 69th annual meeting. And I am here talking with Christopher Lyddell today. He did his workshop in social media and the rheumatologist. How can we make it work for us? And Christopher Lyddell is a rheumatologist from Grand Prairie, Alberta. How are you doing today?
Good, I'm very well, thanks. And
That's
you
good.
yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good,
I understand you were just at the Satellite Symposium.
Yes.
That went very well? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a wonderful session.
Coming to the Canadian Rheumatology Association, what do you think is this year's kind of best and most exciting thing coming up from this meeting?
I think, Anita, if we look at medical congresses, very often one is very, very focused on the latest drug, the latest intervention. And yes, there has been certainly a significant amount of input into that in the workshop sessions. But what I think has been quite wonderful here is how a lot of the broader issues affecting healthcare, particularly musculoskeletal disease in Canada, has been addressed. And the last symposium was a very, very good example of that, when we're actually looking at the gaps that exist in patient care. So we're moving away from just all the things that we've got available and starting to look at just how well are we doing what we have. And I think that's been an undercurrent theme here. And then also I think that there has been a change in the way that one starts to look at the dissemination of information. And it's been very encouraging to see the CRA committee look at issues such as social media in dissemination of information amongst ourselves and obviously the public, our patients.
And especially with how social media is perceived nowadays in the media, and especially in healthcare, it receives a lot of attention because a lot of people are concerned about the privacy, the quality of healthcare they will receive via social media. And that leads me to my next question. In terms of social media, what do you think about social media in terms of helping patients or helping medical research?
Anita, I think that it's healthcare traditionally, and probably for good reasons, has tended to be a little bit slow in accepting new technologies. It's the inherent nature of physicians. We are a fairly conservative group. And I think that's valid for a number of reasons, not least of which is these issues of patient safety. But social media has exploded in the last 10 years to the point that I don't think there's a person in Canada who is not using it on at least an infrequent, and most of us are using it on a daily basis. And social media has revolutionized our access to information, our ability to get information. And I think that if we look at the bridge which has always existed between healthcare providers and our patients, this is a glorious way of potentially bridging that gap and allaying a lot of the fears that may exist on the side of the profession, that we're just not going to be able to cope with it. And also I think the technology is there now to ensure one of the biggest concerns we have, which is confidentiality.
What is the checklist to a successful relationship between a rheumatologist and his patient when they want to communicate via social media?
There have to be boundaries, and we must all be familiar with those as well. What actually we want from our patients as healthcare providers, and then most important is well, we have to explore more of what the patient wants. And I think that's part of the journey that we still have to go through. I've started that at the moment as well, and it's amazed me how a lot of the preconceived perceptions I had incorrect. Number two, I think we have to make sure the patients understand and have the technology available. We have to have uniform platforms. It's not going to work if we're all using different things. The issues of privacy are absolutely paramount, and I think these have to be sorted out, that we do everything that we can to protect patients' privacies, but at the same time, patients have a responsibility to understand on their side that they don't mention neighbors, they don't mention friends, or whatever the case may be. that it is something that we have to respect. And then I think the other thing that's very, very important is to try and actually even consider having patient workshops which are online, could be sponsored by CRA, a lot of patient advocacy groups, in order to try and actually empower patients with the tools and the technology that they need.
Are there currently any successful cases of the use of social media in healthcare in other countries?
It's always difficult to sort of say, Anita, what makes a successful story. I think I can't answer for Canada at the moment as well, but a lot of the sites that I have looked at are predominantly from the United States, where there have been a number of very, very good initiatives from practitioners, particularly in smaller communities, that have set up sites, whether it be a website, a blog site that people can have access to, or a Twitter account or whatever, that have been remarkably successful. Looking at a lot of just this session that we've just been in at the moment, how much empowered patients feel when they have access to know more about a facility, whether it be a hospital, a particular surgeon, what the procedure is, look at the video actually of the surgery being performed, understand more about the drug that they're being given. One of the patient advocates in there made an incredibly valuable point. If we as healthcare providers do not have the buy-in of our patients to an education and a treatment program, the chances of that being successful are very limited.
Is there anything you think Health Canada can do to assist in the promotion of social media in healthcare?
It's always difficult, I think, when you have a very, very big government-based regulatory authority trying to do things like this as well, because they do have their own agendas, which is the certification, the regulation of healthcare products, drugs, whatever the case may be. I would be quite honest, and I would like this to move into the forum of patient advocacy groups. That is where I think the teaching needs to be done. That is where the training is going to be most appropriate. I would like this to get away from regulators.
That's very good. And we are a patient advocacy group here. We have with us the Canadian Spondylitis Association, BC Lupus, and everyone else who's been helping us at the Arthritis Podcast Network booth and have been really helpful, and including the Consumer Advisory Board of Arthritis Research Centre of Canada. One last question before I release you. I know you did your talk on Twitter. Could you just give us a short summary of your presentation on Twitter?
Yeah, it was very much an exploratory exercise. When one gets asked to do these things, it's a first time. You're not too sure what the expectations are. I think there were a number of things that if I knew now what I should have known perhaps 3 months ago, I would have changed the format somewhat. But it was just to try and stimulate awareness, and I think that's been very successful. That there are a number of people that have actually seen the potential value of social media. We focused to a certain extent on Twitter. We had limited time, we used one. I think the brevity, the short message system, the security and all of that is something that works very well. And in the healthcare environment, it's the biggest one out there. If we look at that as well. And then in terms of the workshop, I think what was very, very encouraging was to discuss the potential role of Twitter in education. And that's where we have had a lot of positive feedback.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Is there any other questions from the audience?
That's good. It was an excellent seminar.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your time.
Good. And as I said, I think the one thing, when I leave here as well, it's patient advocacy, but it has to drive this because that's where it belongs.
Great.
It does not belong with regulators.
We agree.
We agree.
We agree.
Yes.
Patient advocacy.
Absolutely.